Hello and welcome back to our fly tying video series. This week we're showing you the Orange Crush Caddis. So it's this time of year when fall flows drop on the Yakima and everybody gets excited about our big October Caddis hatch. So today I'm going to show you how to tie this. We've been fishing this for a few years now. Tremendous success. It's a great fly. Sits on top of the water really nicely and can skate and twitch. Relatively pretty easy to put together. So I'm going to show you the Orange Crush Caddis. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to load our vise with a Gamakatsu S10B size 8. You can use any 2 or 3x long dry fly hook. I just happen to like this hook a lot. It's super sharp and it's black nickel. So we're going to start lay down a thread base here. Right behind the eye, go all the way back to the bend. And you want to go a little bit past the bend of the hook. The first thing that we're going to do, the first material that we're going to lay in is some peacock black eye stubbing. And this is going to be our little egg sac, kind of hot spot on the fly. Kind of separates all the colors, adds a little tone to it. So just form a little dubbing ball right on the bend. And this thread that I'm using, this is 35 denier GSP. It's super strong. I mean, you can see how hard I can pull on it before it busts. Okay, so yeah, you can really pull hard on this GSP. It's great for building these big dry flies because it doesn't build up a ton of bulk and you can really pull hard, but got to be careful with this foam too because it will slice through it. So we're going to cut 2 strips of foam, one orange, one tan, and then I'm going to take my lighter. I'm just going to real light lay a flame to the very end just to kind of round it a little bit to make it look more natural. And we're going to lay this on top of the shank. You want it protruding over the end, not too far, so you get a bunch of short strikes, but you know, maybe about an 1/8 of an inch or so, 1/16. And then bind that down. You can pull pretty good, but if you pull too hard, you will slice that. So what we want to do, if that happens, is just reburn your end. Just real light flame on there. Lay it back on top. And then make some thread wraps. And then bring your thread up to just behind the eye. Leave a little bit of space there. You don't want to crowd it. And then again, bind that piece of orange foam down. And once you have that, leave it a little bit long off the front here. You can cut that and get that out of your way. And then work your thread back over the top of your foam to the back of your fly, right in front of that where your egg sac stopped. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of tan foam. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to bind that down to the shank and bring bring your thread back. And then take your, you can use dubbing for this. I just prefer to use the chenille. This is ultra chenille, micro size. It just kind of speeds up your process a little bit. It's a great color. It's a burnt orange color. So we're going to tie this in, bind it down to the shank. Okay. And then just pull that back out of your way. So the next thing that you're going to need is a brown saddle hackle. Ginger is fine too. And you want this sized, according to, size 8 or 10 dry fly hook. Strip off just a few of those fibers off of the quill. And then we're going to tie this in. Bind it down. And then we're going to take our ultra chenille. And we're going to start palmering it up the shank. Go about 3/4 of the way. And then we're going to want to lock this in place with some thread wraps. And then you can cut that. Get that out of your way. And the next thing, we're going to pull this down. This is this tan foam, piece of tan foam. This is gonna aid some flotation. Kind of breaks up the color scheme a little bit too. And again, it's GSP thread, so it binds it really nicely. So now we're gonna take our hackle and we're gonna bring that right over the top. Make sure that piece of foam is right over the top of the fly. And we're going to make about 4 wraps and then tie that off and secure it. And once it's secure, you can cut that and pull your piece of tan foam up and chop that off right at the base and get that out of your way as well. And then make a few more thread wraps. Make sure everything's bind down nice and good. And make a half hitch, and then we'll be ready for our next step. All right, so our next step here is you're going to want to grab a nice piece of elk patch here from, this is Nature Spirit cow elk. Nice fibers. We'll add some flotation with its hollowness, and cut yourself a clump off of there. Put it in your hair stacker and get all the tips nice and even. The fish really don't care, but as fly tiers, we care. We like to tie, good quality, nice looking flies. So stack all your tips so they're pretty even. Anything that's not even there, you can pull out. If it has underfur in it, make sure that you comb it all out real good. Get all that underfur out of there, and then lay your wing up on top here. Get a measurement. Grab her with your other hand. This is kind of nice where the GSP really comes in. You can really bind that wing down. Run a few through the ends there, and that'll really get it secured nicely. And that forms your wing. So your next step here is kind of comb through this and look for a couple of long fibers here, the hair fibers. Like I see one right here that'll be nice. We're looking for some nice long fibers that will act as our antenna off the front of our fly. So you can kind of start trimming it on the sides and on the top here. Get a few of them out of the way so you can kind of make your decision on which ones you want to use. You're going to need two, of course. So take it, cut them out. I see the two that I'm really liking that will work well. And you want to be careful not to cut those out. And there we go. So we're going to leave those two in there, and those are going to work as our antenna. So you can leave them, you can trim them off and make them even, and then you can get in there a little bit closer and cut any of that other waste. Get it cut down, and then you can run a few more thread wraps through that to really get your wing bound down nicely. We're going to apply some dubbing here in the next few steps, and that'll help bring the wing down a little bit and then kind of secure our antenna in place as well. Okay, so your next step is to grab your brown and gold silly legs and just take and double them up like this. If you watch some of my other videos, you've seen me do this a ton of times with rubber legs. So we just lay these right on top, kind of spaced out evenly, and then just take our bobbin and make a few thread wraps over the top. That bobbin's going to hold it in place so you can literally move your fly around and it's not going anywhere. And then just cut those rubber legs, and then you can pull them down over the side to get them in place where you want them. And get them secured where you like them, and then you can pull that hair back up out of the way, and you can make a few more wraps and pull tight, and that will bind them right in there, right in next to that foam. That looks good. Okay, so now we're going to take and we're going to lay in another brown hackle fiber saddle. So what I've done is I've stripped off the fibers off the end just so I have something that I can bind to the fly, trying to reduce as much bulk as possible. So we'll get that bound in there and get that nice and tight, because we're going to end up palmering that, and then you can trim off that excess there. You can pull on that a little bit, make sure that it's secure, not going anywhere. So then we're going to take a clump of our peacock and black ice dub, and we're going to dub some of this onto the GSP. This is going to help really kind of splay out the legs, going to help pull our wing down, kind of give us the last kind of finishing touches on our fly, and add a bit more color into the thorax of the orange crush here, just like the natural. So once you're ready for that, you can kind of pull all those wing fibers back, Make sure the legs are splayed out, and you want to wrap in between. Make a couple of wraps. Make sure your legs are in place there, and then you can take and just form another couple wraps of dubbing over the top. Pull those antennae forward. You want to kind of watch that eye of your hook too, that you're not impeding it and getting too close. You don't want to crowd that. You want to still be able to get your, usually we're fishing these with, it's a big fly, so usually we're fishing them with 4X tippet. So you're going to want to be able to get that bound in there. Okay. So we got that all. See how just that dubbing just lays that wing right down. You get a few of these fibers too that you can get a little carried away, kind of over the edge of the fly. You can cut those out. Then we're gonna want to take our saddle feather here and start wrapping that thorax. Make about 4 or 5 turns. Really like to get that nice and thick so we have a fly that's going to move and skate up on the water just like our naturals are doing. So once you get that, you can bind that down and just pull it nice and tight and trim off your excess there. Got our antenna sitting forward, and we're about ready to finish our fly here. All right, so we are on our final steps here in the orange crush. Once we get our brown hackle all tied off, this GSP is like super thin, so just run it real lightly through the hackle. I'd like to finish the fly off right behind the hackle and the wing, and we'll just make a real easy half hitch there and chop that off. And then you can kind of do any little fine tuning that you need to do. Okay, so I'm just going to put the final finishing touches on the orange crush here. So basically you can just kind of adjust your legs to your liking, trim them up, get them the length that you like, and then your antenna, if you need to trim that up a little bit. We like to have this piece here in front. We don't want it too long, but we like to keep that a good length, just so it will push water. So as the fly is skating, that pushes up and adds a little bit more vibration and skate to your fly. So the last thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of this Solarez bone dry, and we're just going to add just a little bit to the antenna. That'll just help make it a little bit more durable. So just blast it with your UV light, little resin on there, and they're good to go. So there you have it, the orange crush caddis. We'll be fishing this hard, through the end of September, October, and November here on the Yakima River. So let us know if you have any questions, and thanks for viewing.